Hi Angels. This will be the chapter 10 of You Are My Heroes by Lavender Thoughts 21 on AO3. Chalk. Over the course of a couple of hours, the boys followed the cat around the house. They found her toys and tried to engage the cat in play. It was clear the cat was annoyed by her two new admirers because after hours of unwanted attention, she climbed to the very top of a bookshelf. Lady looked down at the two boys, the end of her tail flicking around as they peered up to her. She needs space, Aizawa explained as the cat turned around and decided to take a nap on top of the bookshelf. You boys want to play outside? Yes, yes, yes! Izuku jumped up and down in circles. Katsuki looked at Aizawa and gave him a firm nod with excited eyes, his hands close to his chest in an excited fist. The time was 7:30. The sun had already painted the neighborhood with orange and yellow tones a while ago, and signaled there was only about an hour before the dark of the night. Aizawa chose for them to be in the front yard, mostly so they could memorize the front of the house if they do decide to miraculously escape again. Rocks, Bakugo stated as he bent down next to the bushes surrounded by pebbles. Katsuki rubbed his hands on the smooth rocks in a circular motion. Do not put anything in your mouth, Aizawa warned the blonde, who returned him an annoyed click of the tongue. Bakugo played with the rocks, picking them up and letting them fall to the floor. The boy would move his ears closer to the ground as he let go of the rocks, the impact making a sound that was pleasing to the boysers. Izuku walked around the edge of the lawn, humming while counting the steps in his head. Aizawa began to wonder how high the boy could count to. Being 3, almost 4, it wouldn't be impossible to know numbers at his age, but actually grasping the ideology of said numbers was a huge milestone. Don't go into the street, Aizawa called out Midoriya, who jumped in surprise at the sudden shout. Aizawa opened his garage and pulled out a broom. He said he would sweep the driveway last night. Izuku finished the perimeter of Aizawa's property and quickly made his way back to Bakugo. This clicked something in Aizawa's brain, that maybe counting was more of a compulsion than a fun activity. It seemed like Izuku needed to count the steps around a play area before he'd step in it and have fun. He saw the same thing happen earlier, walking around the rug in the living room before playing there. For now, he just noted it in his head. He will write it down for the next foster, so Izuku can be properly diagnosed by a doctor. Bakugo was done hearing the rocks fall, and was lining the rocks in a line. The boy looked as Izuku got closer to him, and once he reached him, Bakugo held up a rock. Midoriya nodded, and started to line up the rocks with Bakugo. Aizawa noticed that they were making a pattern. Izuku would put down a brown pebble, and Katsuki followed it with a gray one. You guys like chalk? Aizawa asked as he brought out a small case of different colored chalk. With the driveway swept, it was clean of leaves and sharp pebbles and safe for them to play on. Colors! Izuku immediately ran over, and when he grabbed the box from Aizawa's hand, there was a moment of trust. When their fingers brushed together in passing, there wasn't a jerk reaction like usual. Midoriya didn't show any signs of fear, nor did he look back at Katsuki for reassurance. The boy was no longer hesitant to approach the man whom he met less than 24 hours ago. Progress with Katsuki close behind him, Midoriya sat the box perfectly in the middle of the driveway, so they could share the space evenly. Bakugo, however, instead of drawing on the concrete, got intrigued by the texture of the chalk on his skin. He put a piece of orange chalk between his hands and rubbed it together till his hands were coated. Can I help? Izuku asked as he noticed Katsuki trying to color himself. Instead of scolding them for getting messy, Aizawa let them go through with their plan. It was important to encourage Katsuki into social play rather than the parallel play the blonde was used to. Not the face, it'll hurt your eyes, Aizawa warned, and the blonde gave him a knowing huff. Midoriya rubbed different colored chalk up and down Bakugo's arms, coloring him in with the chalk dust. By the end of it, Katsuki was a rainbow of different colors from his arms down to his legs. So cool, Kachan! Izuku's eyes sparkled at his friend as Katsuki admired his coated hands and legs. The boy looked like he was thrown into a tie-dye machine. With his hands, Katsuki made orange palm prints on the driveway. Izuku quickly coated his own hands to mark his own prints. Funnily enough, Midoriya chose to use green to match his hair along with his eyes. By the time the chalk wore away from their hands, they made a decent amount of hand prints all around themselves. Kachan, let's mix our hands, Izuku asked and lifted up his hand. Katsuki took a second before moving his hand up and high-fiving the boy. It's brown now, Izuku stated, his voice sounding disappointed by the new color. Like dirt, my hand is dirty now. Izuku became more aggravated as he rubbed his hand on the driveway, the chalk not completely coming off. Kachan, I'm dirty, Izuku complained, but Katsuki was too busy making chalk on his skin with his hands, creating color combinations. Luckily, Aizawa was in the middle of watering the bushes. Come here, darling, I'll wash it off. Aizawa called out, and the boys scampered over. Thanks. Izuku paused, his eyebrows furrowing, as he tried to remember the name of the man. My name is Aizawa. The man offered a reminder, and Izuku nodded, washing his hands under the hose. Thanks, Mr. Aizawa, Izuku said quickly, turning away and running back to Katsuki. Aizawa wanted to play with the kids, to show them how to play properly, but he knew that would only upset them. They had their own versions of play that made stuff fun for them, and Aizawa was still just a stranger to them. Katsuki was drawing shapes on the floor now, a couple of circles and squares in different colors. Izuku dried his hand on his shirt before grabbing the corresponding colors and filling in Katsuki's empty shapes. Good. Katsuki gave Izuku a subtle praise that didn't go over the green one's head. Instantly, Midoriya's eyes lit up, and he let out a little squeal of happiness, his hands shaking as he continued to fill the empty space in Bakugu's drawings. They continued like this for a while, Katsuki drawing different shapes, and Izuku filling them in with the same matching color. A good portion of the driveway was filled with their combined efforts of drawings, but the sun had already set and it was getting dark. You boys ready for dinner? Aizawa asked, and immediately 2 heads snapped toward him. We get to eat again? Izuku asked, not believing that he got to have 3 meals today. Yeah, first you need to bathe again, Aizawa said, and Izuku frowned. The green boy didn't like to bathe. Katsuki, on the other hand, couldn't have looked any happier. He was practically shaking. Whether it was the mention of dinner or a bath, Aizawa couldn't tell, but he guessed it was both. This is the end of Chapter 10. I'll see you in Chapter 11. Have a good day, angels.